Welcome back into the show. We appreciate you joining us. The lunch break. We got you until 1 o'clock here today. Appreciate it. 480-864-1060 is the phone number for you to join the conversation. Yesterday on the program, we outlined the problem that the Arizona Cardinals currently have on offense. And it's not a new problem. It's a problem that has been talked about all season long. And that problem is a wide receiver that was drafted inside the top 5 of last year's draft at wide receiver is not putting up the numbers that we are accustomed to seeing in today's modern NFL from first-round wide receivers. And we outlined the rookie seasons that Jackson Smith and Jigba had last year, Drake London, Garrett Wilson, Jamar Chase, Jalen Waddle, Devonta Smith, just the last couple of seasons. I think we went back the last 3 years of first-round draft pick wide receivers, and we looked at top 10 picks, top 5 picks. We looked at just first-round wide receivers overall, and we just said that Marvin Harrison Jr.'s current output, the pace that he's on, isn't matching up with the likes of Drake London and Garrett Wilson, who had impressive rookie campaigns on teams where all the question marks were about their offenses. And the Jets had Zach Wilson as a quarterback, and the Falcons' offensive identity was all over the place. They didn't utilize these first-round picks properly. Kyle Pitts, Drake London, Bijan Robinson, they've just, over the last couple of years, have just tried to overhaul their offense. And so the fact that Drake London was able to put up the numbers that he was able to put up, the fact that Garrett Wilson was able to put up the numbers that he was able to put up, a 1,000-yard season, why are we sitting here in December when there's meaningful football to be played for the Arizona Cardinals, 13 games in, having a conversation of how do the Cardinals have a Marvin Harrison Jr. problem? How are they unable to get him going? How is it that during a 4-game winning streak, he averaged 4 catches a game for 55 yards, and during a 2-game losing streak, so just over the last 6 games, he averaged a similar output. So win or loss, he's basically been the same player for the last 6 weeks. How is that possible? That was the question we asked yesterday. I am not a radio host that just complains. I am not a radio host that just asks questions without giving them an answer. So yesterday we outlined the problem. Today, let's try to figure out what the solution is. How do they fix this problem? How do they fix a problem that shouldn't be here in Week 14 of the NFL with how important of a game that they're playing on Sunday? And I hate to be the bearer of bad news here is I don't know what the answer truly is. It shouldn't be this difficult. You have a quarterback that you believe in. You have an offensive mind that we all think is very strong, could get some looks this offseason for some head coaching interviews. And Marvin Harrison Jr.'s talent is not in question. I can't look at this and say the Cardinals don't have the quarterback to get him the ball. Now, the pushback would be Garrett Wilson didn't have that problem. Drake London didn't have that problem. But I can't point to the quarterback, albeit the quarterback not playing the best football for the last 2 weeks. But during the 4-game winning streak, this is one of the best offenses in the NFL during that stretch. Kyler Murray was moving up the odds for MVP, moving up the odds for comeback player of the year. So he was playing well during that stretch, and it didn't change the output for Marvin Harrison Jr. So I can't really put it on the quarterback. Can I put it on the offensive coordinator? I think at times they get a little too cute. I think at times they get a little too run happy. But Trey McBride is able to thrive. They're able to scheme up plays for Trey McBride. So what is the blockage here? What is putting us in this situation? And I don't know the answer. Because the quarterback's talented enough to get him the ball. The receiver is talented enough to run the routes and get open. The coordinator is talented enough to scheme up plays. So why isn't this working? Why are we not seeing a Garrett Wilson-like rookie season? Why are we not seeing this is a little unfair, Jamar Chase-like rookie campaign? Jalen Waddle's probably a better example from that draft class. Why are we not seeing that type of production? Why is it that Marvin Harrison Jr. is only projected to get to about 800 yards this season, and there are stretches of time during the season where you forget he's out there? The number 4 overall pick, the first receiver taken. The Cardinals took a skill player. Slam dunk, no doubt, that had to be the pick. They made the right pick. Why is it feel like at times like it is pulling teeth to see Marvin Harrison Jr. be the player that we think he can be? Because the one thing about Marvin Harrison Jr. in the draft process was there were some people out there that didn't think he was the top receiver in the class. There were people who thought maybe it was Rome Odunze or thought it was Malik Neighbors. And the conversation was ceiling versus floor, ceiling versus floor. The thing about Marvin Harrison Jr. was everybody thought the floor was higher than almost everybody else in this draft class. I'm not seeing that floor. I'm not seeing that high floor that everybody's talking about. Now, people thought the ceiling with Neighbors was higher, the ceiling with Odunze was higher, maybe than Marvin Harrison Jr., but the floor, he was supposed to be the sure thing. He was supposed to be the most consistent receiver you were going to see. That's what you were supposed to get. Why haven't we gotten that? Why hasn't that been the case? And I struggle to find an easy answer. And when you can't find an easy answer, I think the place that you go to is it's a combination of all of these things. It's a combination of quarterback, wide receiver not being on the same page. It is a combination of a play caller not doing the little things to get his guy involved early and often. And so if we're going to fix this problem here today, and I'll put that in air quotes because I'm not an offensive coordinator in the NFL. I don't know what the meetings look like. I don't know what the game plan looks like on Sundays. I can watch it with my own two eyes and try to make a generalization from the TV copy. I can try to look at the All-22 and see if there's things. I can try to do that. But to me, the place that this breaks down is I don't think there's enough effort on a consistent enough basis early in the game to find those easy rhythm confidence plays for quarterback and wide receiver. He had 5 catches in the game on Sunday, had 3 catches the week before that, 5 against the Jets, then only 2 against the Bears, 6 against the Dolphins, 3 against the Chargers. Didn't catch a ball against the Packers, but he left that game hurt. 2 against the 49ers. It's all over the place. His average output is close to around the 50-yard mark. I mean, let's just talk since he came back from the concussion. 21 yards against the Chargers, 111 yards against the Dolphins, 34 against the Bears, 54 against the Giants, 47 against the Seahawks, 60 against the Vikings. It's been a little better consistently as of late, but 21 to 111 to 34 to 54, it's just all over the place. And so to me, the simplest answer here, the thing that I think is the easiest place to go to try to fix this, because I believe in the quarterback. I believe in his talent to get Marvin Harrison Jr. the ball. I believe in the wide receiver. I believe in the coordinator. You got to find those easy rhythm confidence plays early in the game. Tunnel screens, some quick slants, some button hooks on the outside, the easy stuff that gets your quarterback and wide receiver in rhythm and allows them to build the confidence so that later on, as the game matures, you are able to take those deep shots. That, to me, is what I would like to see. That is what I think is missing from this offense right now. Is he gets the targets, the balls get thrown his way, but I think too often we can go back and look at games where he ends up with a lot of targets, and our patented statistic, which has kind of failed the last couple of weeks, but when Trey McBride and Marvin Harrison Jr. are the guys that are getting the top 2 targets on this offense, they win. You can kind of pad those numbers late by just throwing him the ball when you're out of it. But how many times, truly, if we went back and looked at it, would 50, 75, 80% of the targets that Marvin Harrison Jr. gets in a football game are in the second half or late in the game? How often would he have a big game where he's got 5, 6, 12, 7, however many targets he gets in a game? How often would those be evenly split first half, second half? How often would there be enough rhythm early in the game? And I bet you if we went back and looked at it and we watched the tape and we broke it down first half, second half, that you would see a lot of these targets come in the second half. Now, that's just speculation on my part. I haven't run the math, but that's just what it feels like watching these games. It feels like early in the game, they're not doing enough to get him involved. You drafted the guy 4th overall. You drafted the guy to be a difference maker. Not just to be a difference maker in the 3rd quarter, in the 4th quarter when you're trailing, or on a gotta-have-it drive. You drafted this guy to be a difference maker so that you're the team with the lead late, that you're the team that's dominating into the second half, that's putting all the pressure on the other team. You drafted him to be a difference maker for 4 quarters, not for 2. You drafted him to be a difference maker, to allow you to get out to early starts so that you can lean on your running game the way that you would like to be that run-first team that opens things up off of play action. You got to find creative ways to get him involved. Wide receiver screens, those tunnel screens I talked about, the quick stuff, quick game, the RPO stuff. You need to find a way. It is week 14 of the NFL season. Marvin Harrison Jr. only having 606 receiving yards on the season. Now, he's caught 7 touchdowns. That's awesome. But the fact that he's going to fall short of a 1,000-yard season where basically everybody gets to 1,000 yards nowadays, it's almost impossible to not get to 1,000 yards in the NFL with the way the rules are written. I mean, you've got 2 receivers right now that are already 1,000 yards in Jamar Chase and Justin Jefferson. Do you know how many receivers have over 800 yards and are closing in on 1,000? Nico Collins has 832 yards in 8 games. Terry McLaurin's almost at 900. Brock Bowers is almost at 900. CeeDee Lamb, Jerry Jeudy, Zay Flowers, George Pickens, Cortland Sutton, Nico Collins, Jackson Smith and Jigba, Amon-Ra St. Brown, Ladd McConkey, all over 800 yards through 13 weeks. Some of these teams have 5 games left to play. Trey McBride's at 781. Marvin Harrison Jr. is 35th in receiving yards. Hunter Henry has more receiving yards than him. Alec Pierce, Jonnu Smith have more receiving yards. Jacoby Myers, you're telling me that Marvin Harrison Jr. is less talented than those guys? You've got to find a way. Find those easy rhythm plays. Get your timing with your quarterback and your wide receiver on the same page. Give them those easy early wins. This falls on Drew Petzing more than it falls on anybody else. Give me those early plays. And then if Kyler Murray and Marvin Harrison Jr. can execute them, then we'll come in here and we'll criticize them. But you have too much talent in your play calling ability. You have too much talent at the quarterback position, and you have too much talent at wide receiver for Marvin Harrison Jr. to have this output through 12 games. We should not be having this conversation going into a must-win game in week 14 of the NFL season. It should not be a thing. The easy wins are what this team needs to find in the early stages of the game. Get him going early, and then allow him to be the difference maker late.